Welcome to another edition of Caldwell Cooks. Today we're talking about soups. We're getting close to fall now, and one of my favorite things to enjoy during the fall season is soups, and I love preparing soups. And I had a mentor once tell me one of the greatest things you can find out about a chef is how great they are when you taste some of their soups, because it's a great way to build flavor in a dish. And there's a good technique behind soup building as well. Today we're going to do a split pea soup. And don't run away quick yet, because split pea soups are very good. And this soup actually won me over very quickly after I tasted it, because it's got a lot of flavor. It's got a lot of layers of flavor in this soup. So it's not just peas. There's a lot of ingredients going on in this soup, and it's very tasty. So let's get started. We're going to go ahead and turn on our Dutch oven. Now I've already started rendering some bacon in this Dutch oven, because it takes quite a while to render some bacon. Let's talk about rendering bacon for a minute. When we talk about rendering bacon, rendering literally means to melt the fat away. And the difference is, once we melt all that fat away, the only thing we're left with is nice caramelized crispy bits of bacon, right? So we're going to try to low and slowly melt that fat away. And when we're cooking bacon, that's at a higher heat, so that's going to get that bacon nice and crispy, but you're still going to notice a lot of fat on that bacon. So that's why we're going to render it. Rendering is going to be low and slow. Cooking is going to be a lot higher heat if we're just plainly cooking bacon. So the object is to melt that fat away so we can use that fat to cook our vegetables in. Now you can omit the bacon if you want to in this recipe, if you want to keep it strictly vegetarian. And we're using chicken stock in this recipe. You can use vegetable stock instead of chicken stock. Keep it vegetarian if you'd like to. Add a few more spices to build that flavor up. But some good smoked bacon will take this a long way. Another addition I like to do with this recipe is simmer my chicken stock with some ham hocks, and that will add a lot of flavor to this dish. That's what my grandma used to do. We would simmer ham hocks for about 30-45 minutes in the chicken stock, and if it still had some meat, we'd pull the meat on the bone, add it to the soup, and puree it up. It's really good. So we got some bacon rendering right here. It's already getting a little crispy. So while this is finishing up, I've had this going maybe about 10 minutes. While this is finishing up, we're going to do some knife cuts and introduce you to some of the ingredients in the soup. So today's soup, we're going to have onion, parsnip. If you're not familiar with parsnip, it's white, it's a root vegetable. Love it. It's got a slightly peppery flavor to it. It's very creamy, and it's very sweet, actually. There's a lot of sugar in parsnips. They're very good roasted in the oven, or a parsnip puree if you want to substitute for a starch. If you got too many starches in your diet and you would like to substitute, parsnip puree is a nice puree to substitute. And then we're going to have celery in it as well, along with our split peas and some russet potatoes as well. So let's go ahead and get going on the knife cuts. We're just going to do a nice medium dice on the knife cuts. And one of the things about knife cuts is there's a reason why we try to keep everything uniform. And yes, it's very pretty, it's very uniform, it shows the chef's technique, but the main reason is cooking. Okay, that's the main reason why we keep our knife cuts very similar or uniform. Okay, everything's going to cook at the same rate. That's why we want to keep the same uniformity with our knife cuts here. Let's get this onion peeled back. Now, we're going to do a nice medium dice. Stir my bacon so it don't start to burn. All right, now, how do we dice an onion? Notice I took that onion, I sliced it, and went down the root of that onion. The root, okay? That's going to give us a true dice on this onion, okay? So we're going to turn it sideways, take the heel of my knife, and I'm going to draw it all the way to the front. Front, the back, all the way through, okay? Very carefully, all the way through. Then we're going to go straight down, turn, straight down again. It's going to give us a beautiful small dice. You're going to have an end piece, just turn it, finish it up. A few loose pieces, you can cut them in. Cut this root off. All right, so turn it from the heel of your knife all the way through. I usually do 2 depending on how big the onion is, how large it is. We're going to go straight down, turn it, straight down. That's your end piece. That's how you're going to get a uniform small dice on an onion. Okay? Remember I said we want to keep our knife cuts uniform. So with the celery, one thing I do notice is people don't like to slice the celery in half. Okay? Don't be afraid to cut that thing in half and cut it down to the size you need it. Okay? You don't always have to go like that. Turn it. Knife cut down. We're going to stack them up so we do it a little quicker. Okay? Take your time. You don't have to be a speed demon when it comes to knife cuts. Take your time. Keeping everything uniform is going to allow everything to cook at the same rate. Nice celery here. And we can get a little faster. So we're going to start out with about half a pound of onions, around 8 ounces, about 4 ounces of celery, 4 ounces of parsnip. Now with this parsnip, I'm going to show you a unique knife cut. These are called obliques, okay, obliques. Oblique is a roll cut, and this is a different cut in how we use carrots and parsnips. It's a different look. So we call it a roll cut. You get a shape similar to this. And what we're going to do, we're going to take a slice through, roll it 2/3 of the way, slice it again. Okay? It's going to keep me a uniform cut right here. Slice it 2/3 of a roll. That's called an oblique. You see it a lot with carrots. So if you see roasted carrots, a lot of times you just see a straight sliced carrot. This helps keep that carrot uniform. Because if you notice, carrots and parsnips are not uniform all the way through, right? So we'll take the small piece off, cut, roll, roll. Now notice how thick it is right here. So what we like to do, slice it down the middle, and then we just turn it back and forth, back and forth. Notice I got a nice straight cut right here. So I make that 2/3 turn and I cut straight down the middle of it. Just like that. Okay? So notice how I try to keep those all uniform. Slice that one down, back, forth. Nice oblique knife cut. So now we have our knife cuts done. Let's check our bacon. All right, it's looking good. Now let's add our veg. Let's do that. Okay. Now we're going to add our aromatics, our vegetables to the soup. Notice how nice and crispy that bacon was. We rendered all that fat out. Layers of flavor, right? So we built a nice fond on the bottom of the pan with that bacon. Use that nice smoked bacon fat to infuse a lot of flavor. Got some sweetness from the parsnips. You can put some wine in this soup if you'd like to, but there's enough sugar in those parsnips, you shouldn't need any. All right. Touch of garlic. Garlic's subjective. as much as you would like, or not like, totally up to you. All right. Now we're going to add maybe a 1/4 teaspoon of dried thyme. Love dried thyme in the fall. Split peas need to be washed and rinsed. I've already washed and rinsed our split peas here, so we can go ahead and add those in. It's roughly about 1.5 cups. Roughly about 1.5 cups. A lot of good stuff going on right here. Never had split pea soup until I had this recipe, and it changed my way of thinking about peas. It's very, very good. Easily can be transferred into or transitioned into a vegetarian dish. I would add a few more spices. Maybe you could add some white wine then, a little bit more thyme, oregano, to help balance out some of that flavor you're losing from the smoked bacon. All right, now we're going to add our potatoes. It's going to add a rich, nice starchiness to it. A lot of sugar and potatoes as well. All right, so we're going to let this cook for maybe 3 to 4 minutes. We're going to add our chicken stock to it. And then we're going to let it simmer. I like seasoning in stages. Just make sure you don't over season. Okay, so just a little. This soup's going to cook for 45 minutes to an hour at least. Okay, so you don't want to over season. Those flavors will concentrate. You got to be careful. All right, so let's let that cook for a minute. Now this soup is what we consider a potage soup. And what does potage mean? Literally, it means a thick soup, right? So we have thick and thins. You have bisque, you have chowders. Chowders technically contain potato. Bisque traditionally used to be thickened with rice. I think if you were to look up bisque nowadays, it would say it must contain some type of shellfish, seafood. But the traditional way of making bisque, they actually thickened it with rice flour or starch from the rice in the soup itself. So that's where it comes from. And then we have our thin soups like consommé, which is a true technique that takes a long time to master. That's why it costs so much. But this is a potage soup, which is a thick soup. All right, I think we're ready for our stock. You want to let this aromatics cook for a little while. It's releasing the sugars, it's releasing the flavor, okay, before you add your liquids. So I got some hot chicken stock here, roughly about 2 quarts. Come up to a nice simmer right off the bat. Control my heat. Cooking's all about controlling your time and your temperature. Time and temperature. Once you master your time and your temperature control, you can cook. Okay? Flavor is all subjective. Time and temperature is all technique. Flavor is all subjective. So I tell my students, if you stay true to your technique, you can cook anything you want to cook, right? Ingredients are all subjective. They can be substituted at any point in time, but if you stay true to that technique, building the fond, adding your aromatics, then adding your liquids, you will make a great dish every single time. And that's how we create recipes. That's how chefs create recipes, is staying true to their technique, right? So we're going to let this simmer for about 30, 45 minutes till those vegetables get nice and tender. And then we're going to puree it. So let's see what that finished product's going to look like. All right, now we've been simmering for about 30, 45 minutes. Our vegetables are nice and tender. You can see the color from the celery and the peas have kind of faded. Potatoes are nice and tender. So now it's time. We're going to check the seasoning just a touch. Okay, see where we're at, because you can still add a touch right now. Oh, woo, that's good. That's real good. I don't think we need to add anything. All right, so now we're going to move to the blender. We're going to puree this up, and then I'm going to show you how to finish it off. All right, so now we're over here at the blender. It's a very, very powerful blender. If you have a Vitamix at home, I envy you. These are very, very worth their weight in gold almost. But you can get hurt with these, so be very, very careful. Make sure everything is on 0 and turned off before you even begin, because I've had a few students have accidents. I've had people in the industry have accidents, so be very careful. And in general, with any blender and hot liquids, be very, very careful, because that steam will expand very, very quickly and it can burn you very, very easily. So always start out real low. So go ahead and turn it on. Start out low, then work your way up. Then when you finish, I always turn it back down, turn it all the way back down, turn it off, all that good stuff. That way, when somebody comes to use this next, they don't turn it on, it's already up, and it shoots everything to the ceiling, because it has happened before. So I just want to make sure you're very careful with these devices. See how hot that is? This machine can actually cook a soup. So you can put raw tomato, basil, a little bit of cream, salt and pepper, and some stock in here, and you can cook a tomato basil soup because it spins at such a high RPM. So it's a very, very neat machine. Now, since we're finished pureeing, look at our consistency. It's a nice, thick soup, but we're not finished yet. We're going to finish it with a little bit of cream. It's going to help thin it out, give it some richness, give it a little bit of fat. So we're going to add it back to our pot on the stove. Make sure it stays on the stove. You're still going to cook some of this out. You can use a stick blender or an immersion blender, sometimes is what it's called, if you would like to. It will not get the same consistency. It will puree it for you, but it might be a touch gritty if you don't have a blender. But a blender is one of the best ways to puree a nice soup and get it the consistency you would like. All right, so we got our puree on here. Bring it up to temp to keep it warm, or bring it back to a simmer actually. And we're going to finish with cream. The reason we're going to finish with cream is so the cream don't curdle. And it's going to give us a nice mouthfeel once we eat this soup from the fat. And it should give it a nice little sheen, nice color. So, about a 1/4 cup is what we used here. I'm actually going to garnish with a little cream too. You can use sour cream, you can use creme fraiche if you would like. Like I said, all that stuff's subjective. As long as you stay true to the technique, rendering your fat, adding your aromatics, which is all your vegetables, your peas, your potatoes. Then you would add the wine at that point if you wanted to deglaze and add some acid or vino. And then you're going to add your liquids, which is your chicken stock. Let it cook down. Okay, I always tell my students, what's the most important ingredient? And they looked at me starstruck sometimes and said, it's love. Love's the most important ingredient, so let it cook. Okay? If somebody tells you they can cook a soup in 30 minutes, they're lying. They can put it together in 30 minutes, but to truly get the flavor out of that soup, you got to let it cook. Time. Okay? All right, so we're back up to temperature. I got the consistency I want. Let's taste it, make sure the seasoning's where it needs to be, and then we can garnish or plate and garnish. That's a good soup. Pinch of salt, fresh cracked pepper. And that right there is a great soup. A lot of flavor. The peas there, you taste the parsnip, the celery, the onion, a little bit of garlic, and that thyme comes through. Oh, this just reminds me of fall. It's a very, very good soup. So let's plate this up real nice. Have a nice ladle here. Nice thick soup. Potage, word of the day. The soup's so comforting too. Just really comforting soup. One nice brunoise carrot, which is a type of knife cut. Right on top for some color. A little bit of texture. Show off your knife cut skills there. And then, like I said, I'm going to finish with just a little bit of cream. That's going to give you a little color, nice mouthfeel when you finish or when you eat the soup. And there you have it. A beautiful split pea soup, or a split pea potage soup. Thanks for joining us with Caldwell Cooks, and I hope to see you next episode.